Welcome, friends, it's the MovieFilm Podcast. MovieFilm Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about the movies. MovieFilm Podcast on the radio.
Everybody underground now! Come on!
The producers of Jurassic Park and the director of Speed bring you face to face with Twister.
Get out of there! Hurry!
Don't think.
It's gonna drop right on us! Find something to grab a hold of!
Don't breathe. And never, ever look back. Twister.
Welcome to a movie film commentary track. My name is Zachy Hassan. I'm here with Brian Hall.
Hey, how's it going, Zachy?
Hey, Brian, I had this recurring nightmare that we used to have a third person hosting the show with us.
Oh, yeah, but those days are long gone. You're just having repressed memories.
I guess so. It's reassuring. I don't hear that voice in my headphones anymore.
And just like those old times, you guys are very well rehearsed, and I'm like,
Hey, is that Sean Coyle? You son of a bitch. You left because it was about the money, not the movies.
That's going to be sort of a line in the movie we're about to watch, too. He's in it for the money, not the science.
Well, hey, Sean Coyle is here. Say hello, Sean.
Hello, Sean.
Last time Sean joined us was 4 years ago when we talked through Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, so I basically I'm only allowed to do commentary tracks on movies that I've seen. So
seems like a good approach, right? Seems like the way to go.
Yeah, so there's Twister. There's if you're going to do a Xanadu commentary,
Xanadu.
We're going to add it to the list now.
I was actually thinking it'd be hilarious if it turns out you were a scholar on the Magnificent Ambersons. And this is where it all collides.
Magnificent Ambersons, but yeah.
No, I mean, Brian and I, we had talked about the new Twisters is coming out, and we were like, well, it's a good time to look back at the original. But I think both of us were like, well, if Sean can't do it, then we're just not going to do it because we both know how much you adore this movie. This is you and I, we've known each other for basically as long as this movie's been around.
Yeah. Yes. Wow. Same year. Yeah.
That's right. So right, yeah. It might have been the first thing I ever learned about you because you shook my hand and said, I'm Sean. I love Twister. And I said, the game or the movie? And he's
put your hands together. Yeah.
So I'm honestly, I'm most excited to watch this movie with you because I've never had the pleasure.
Which is amazing because we've been friends for almost 30 years. It's amazing that you and I have never sat down just to watch this for fun.
So that's what we're about to do. I'm very excited. We are watching Twister from 1996. If you want to watch along with us, you're welcome to do that. You can cue it up. However, while you do that, we're going to take a short break, let our sponsors do their thing, and we'll be back right after this.
Cha-ching!
And we're back and ready to go. There is only one cut of Twister. It is the 1996 theatrical. So we will do the usual thing. We'll hit play on 3. So 1, 2, 3, play. You guys ready?
Ready.
Wait. So are you okay? I remember a long time ago. It used to be 1, 2, 3, play.
I think I've gotten better. Right?
Okay, good.
I think I have. I don't know. Brian, you tell me.
It's funny. You're just bringing back memories for me. I haven't thought about it in a long time. But yes, no, I am completely down with this rhythm now. So yeah.
Okay.
And all jokes aside, what you guys do for your podcast and your audience and all the stuff you put together, it's a hoot to listen to. And I'm very, very proud of you boys.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, let's get into this. I'm excited.
All right.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Play.
I've got a moody Warner Brothers shield here.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was released domestically by Warner Brothers, internationally by Universal.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the new one is just Universal, I think.
Yeah, if only we had something to look that up. But
Some kind of database of some kind.
you know what's kind of cool, which I didn't notice this until I watched it recently with my daughter. This is a movie that she and I love together. But it's It's kind of cool how this ominous haunting like of the tornado theme. It's almost reminiscent of like a Jaws kind of thing. You know, it's like it's setting the tone of this like get ready for this ride. Like,
I mean,
you know.
it's funny you say that because this movie is, in essence, Jaws with the weather.
I was thinking that with this opening scene. I mean, it really
Yeah.
feels like a monster movie,
Mhm.
but the monster is the weather. You know, I mean, they really are running away from something that is pursuing them and can't keep the door shut. You know, it has that sort of feel from like a
Yeah.
monster film.
We had that Chiron that said 1969. Have you noticed that in movies, like more modern day movies, they kind of like stray away from, if there's like a flashback, you're not going to get like the specific date and time.
Yeah, you know, and I've always thought that was kind of wise also where I mean, you have a movie like Back to the Future where 1985 is an identity in the film, but like I like in some movies where it just says present day.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, MCU movies are stapled to their dates, which is that's my
True that.
that irks me about those, to be honest.
Something I think it's kind of famous with this movie. I see it come up on Reddit and things sometimes is the reason that it's rated PG-13 by the Motion Picture Association of America is due to intense depictions of very bad weather.
Amazing. So here,
Which I understand that.
Oh yeah.
here we have what will be revealed to be as young Helen Hunt. She's the little girl. I was reading the trivia before we signed on, which I didn't know about these years. I love this movie. So there was either it was in the original cut or the original script, there was supposed to be more just flashbacks and bad dreams that adult Helen Hunt was having.
That's right.
And Spielberg was actually kind of the one who suggested like, no, you got to do this thing. Her dad's got to die. There's got to be loss. There's got to be motivation. And so this beginning chunk here, this flashback was something that they put together at the end of production, kind of added onto the movie, which works super well.
It's hard to imagine the movie without it. And then when you say, "Oh, Spielberg was the guy who's like, no, she has to lose her dad," you totally get it because it's one of those genius Spielberg moves where I mean he has an instinctive knack for story.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense. Her motivation, her obsession, all from this scene, and even we get that moment later where she sees a family that resembles hers after a horrific attack. And you don't need words. You just know why she is so driven to finish the task, to save another family so they don't lose someone the way
By the way, the little girl who plays young Joe, that's Alexa Vega from the Spy Kids movies.
No way.
Oh, no kidding. How funny.
And the guy who plays her dad, that's he's Richard Lineback. He was Norwood in Speed. He's the there you
go. Nice.
Oh, yeah.
And the mom, I don't know the actress's name offhand, but she ends up being the love interest for in The Perfect Storm. She's the Jack Hawkins character. She's his love interest.
Yep.
How funny. Well, good for all of them.
And The Perfect Storm certainly is a movie that was heavily inspired by the success of Twister.
Yeah,
sure.
Because after this movie, I mean, it's worth remembering, circa 1996, disaster movies were passé. Right? I mean, they had a moment in the 70s with with Towering Inferno and Poseidon, etc. But this really got this thing launched. Where after this, you got Dante's Peak and Volcano and the two asteroid movies, etc. And I would offer that none of the ones that came in the wake of Twister did it as well as Twister.
Agreed.
When you said Dante's Inferno or Dante's Peak, rather, it was just reminding me about this was like the heyday of or maybe just the beginning of the Hollywood Stock Exchange website. Remember that?
I
You could
do.
like buy, sell, and trade like actors and movies and stuff. Because I remember like buying stock, fake stock, obviously, of Dante's Peak,
Wow.
sitting in the newspaper office with you, Zachy. Actually,
Yeah, I remember. We had many a conversation thinking about our fictional stock portfolio.
Man, if
here-
it's something I actually know anything about, I could actually make money off of. I wish it existed. Anyway, sorry.
I was just going to jump in. If I was ever to become a film teacher, this is something I would teach on day one. This sweeping shot over the wheat fields and the truck coming in and the plane coming in.
Incredible.
And keeping the truck centered. And then when you get closer, you're going to see that Bill Paxton's lips are actually moving. Like this whole sequence is just masterful.
You get a lot of these really amazing choreographed sweeping shots.
Brian, real quick, worth saying, that shot of the exterior with the window, as shot, you could see the helicopter in the
Oh, really?
reflection.
Yeah.
So
Who cares?
digitally,
I didn't even notice.
they had to cut it out. They had to digitally erase it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny.
But Jan De Bont, man, I really wish he made more movies.
I know. It's Speed and this. It's like he did a Laura Croft movie after this, right?
Correct.
He also
And
did
then
The
that's kind of
Haunting.
it.
Yeah,
The
he did
Haunting.
The Haunting. which
Oh, The
was-
Haunting.
After this, he did Speed 2, The Haunting, and Lara Croft Tomb Raider 2, and that was sort of 3 strikes, you're out.
Yeah.
There's a Speed 2? So right there, if you didn't notice, Helen Hunt actually clearly says "F me," but they mute it because they PG-13 rating.
You know what's funny? I actually
Here's Todd
rewound.
Field, by the way.
What?
Yeah,
Film director Todd Field, he of Tar fame,
Yeah. I love
in the
that.
bedroom and little children.
Yeah. Now I thought that was interesting because I was like, what did she say? And then actually the captioning still has it.
Oh,
It's
really?
funny that it's like
That's
muted.
fun. There's Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I won't see what is he, like 27 here, Philip Seymour Hoffman?
This is like pre-Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Yep, it is. Yeah.
He looks very much like he does in Boogie Nights, though.
So Alan Ruck, obviously reteaming with De Bont after Speed.
I like that he has kind of a troupe. It seems,
Yeah.
post-Speed here.
There's also a couple guys on the Cary Elways on his team that also appeared in Speed, which was cool.
Yeah.
Bill Paxton. Let's give it to Bill Paxton.
The late great.
The late great. Seriously, I'm sure you guys read, but maybe for the audience that doesn't know, when Bill Paxton passed away in 2017, there's like a storm chasers spotting network or something like that. About like 200 storm chasers.
Mm-hmm.
They got together and on their GPS, they made it so that their positions could spell out BP in like a part of Oklahoma.
That's amazing.
So like if you were looking at all the little ping dots or whatever, it would spell out BP in honor of him. And I guess he's the only like non-storm chaser to ever have been honored in such a way by this very exclusive group.
Yeah. Because you have to imagine that this movie is given the most visibility to that profession than anything else, right? So, I mean, how many
they
people...
also make it look smart and cool.
Yes.
Like they're renegades, but they're also smart. They're not maniacs. They're not adrenaline junkies. Like they're smart. They know what they're doing and they're accomplishing great things. But, there's also the taste of thrill also. Like it's a great portrayal, I would imagine, for storm chasers.
Now, Bill Paxton was not the first choice for this film. It's hard to imagine. But originally they went to Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
But in addition to Tom Hanks, I mean, the list, it was like Kevin Costner and...
The who's who of the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage and Bruce Willis, all the usual. Tom Hanks turned it down, but he had just worked with Bill Paxton on Apollo 13, so that's how he got in the door. And again, you watch it, you're like, this is the quintessential Bill Paxton role. It's so... It allows an accentuation of what he's best at, which is being charming, but kind of an everyman, but smart and all those things. And so it's really hard to, like, you can see the version of this movie with any of those other people I listed, but we would have missed out on this version.
Mm-hmm.
And and we'll get to some of this later too, but like some of the dialogue in this movie is so blatantly simple and to the point because it's like blockbuster movie dialogue, right? But like only Bill Paxton could deliver it with such charm and believability where you don't roll your eyes. There's a lot of people in this role where like the words that they're saying, like you're rolling your eyes and being like, "The movie's lame." And I know this movie is polarizing, as I'm learning, like the more that I bring it up with people. Like there are some people that are just like, this movie's just too cheesy, or like there's no way, all those like hillbillies running around, all that. There's lots of bad rap for this movie, and it's only like a 6.5 on IMDb or some junk. But I love this movie to pieces.
Well, talk to me about that, Sean. Now you were 16 when this movie came out.
I was 17. So summer of 96. I was 17, hadn't turned 18 yet. I saw this movie at Stratford Square Mall.
Hey.
Yep. I went with a friend of the show, Chris Ashline. I went with his sister and like 4 or 5 of her teenage friends. They were like a year behind us in school. I don't know how it worked out, but it was me and like 5 or 6 teenage girls. And I remembered them giggling through most of this movie. And for me, I was just kind of like, wait a minute, like, like not paying attention to the cute girls that I was surrounded with. Like there's something about this movie that I love. Which I don't know if that
You're like, I want to hear about the suck film. Shut up.
But yeah, there was just like, because this is the same year as Independence Day as well. And like
Mission Impossible.
The Rock, right? Didn't that Rock come out this year?
Yep.
And like,
it was a good summer.
And all those movies are awesome. Like I love The Rock as well. But like for some reason, like this movie and the setting and the special effects and the soundtrack and the Bill Paxton of it all, and just like driving pickup trucks through the country and chasing tornadoes and all, like it came together in something that it's eye candy for me. And it's like, it's an escape. Every time I watch this movie, I feel like I'm like part of this team and it makes me happy. And just the cinematography, like going back, like again, let's give Jan De Bont tons of credit. Speed is like the perfect action movie. And this is just this is like a masterclass of adventure filmmaking. And I know it's because, and he says he took on this movie because he sort of could tell the trend that was coming, that we were going to get into more computer effects and stuff like that. And he wanted to make as much of a practically shot action movie as possible. And to my knowledge, it's only the tornadoes and the flying cow are like some of the only effects works in this movie. You know, like the hail stuff later on and that tanker truck and the house that rolls across the road, all the stuff that we're going to see later on in the movie, all that stuff was like on rigs and cranes and all that kind of, and it was just like, it's insane to think how differently this movie would have been made now, which makes me even more curious for the sequel / redo / whatever the new one is.
Whatever it is. The plural.
The plural of this. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure people listening, like they've got their Twister, just that movie that you can't explain it. And you can even go so far as to acknowledge its flaws, but there's just something undeniably lovable that you connect with. And this has always been that movie for me.
You know, it's funny. I wrote down after rewatching it, I've seen it several times, but I was like, this is just a solid roller coaster of a film.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain movies that are roller coasters. Like they do have stories, but they're really more about experiencing a ride. And sometimes I think when they push too hard or they get too over the top, they just become, beyond your senses. And it's just like, you're just seeing things flash before you. But like when you can give us just enough, like a group of people we enjoy spending time with. And so we're in the passenger seat with them, going through the ride of what it would be like to chase these tornadoes, be stuck in the middle of these tornadoes. And then when it's over, you go, whew, and then feel like you're stepping back into the real world. I mean, that's a perfect roller coaster film. That's what I think this is.
And here we are, we're barely 15 minutes into the movie, and we know everything that's important to know about the adventure we're going to go on. Helen Hunt's got a backstory. Yeah. We heard the people at the Storm Center be like, this is going to be a long day, record outbreak of tornadoes. And now this thing, it's like, we're going to put it up in a tornado and we're going to develop this advanced warning system. And it's just like, it's so tight. It's like, you just know everything you need to know has already happened. And now you can just strap yourself in and enjoy the ride.
And we should say, I mean, it was written by Michael Crichton and his wife, or at least the first draft was, and his wife, Anne-Marie Martin. And they're paid, I think, somewhere like $2 to $2.5 million.
$2.5 million.
Yeah.
It was, at the time, the most expensive screenplay ever written.
Amazing.
Yeah. Anne-Marie Martin, by the way, I didn't realize this. She was the partner on Sledgehammer.
Huh.
Oh, dude.
Detective Dory Duro.
Yeah.
I was like, get out of here. There's one person out there who's like,
a lot of people
really?
Contributed, by the way. So Joss Whedon, makes sense because he was punching up Speed. Well, punching up
Steve Zalian,
Jeff Nathanson.
But like, look, I feel like you don't get this in modern day movies. Like, look at all this stuff that's happening. It's like it's not just people running around. It's like run around, grab the map, pass the guy who's packing the water bottles. Like, cameras move. Like, get the thing. Other person steps in, helps him put the thing in the van. Like, all this, it looks like chaos, but it's like beautifully choreographed chaos.
I mean, I can't say enough about the camera work in this movie or any Jan De Bont movie.
Any Jan De Bont movie.
I mean, it's funny because he probably uses less cuts than people would these days, and yet it feels as frenetic and more comprehensible and maybe even more thrilling. And I miss that the artistry of composition.
Yeah.
You know, and choreography and blocking and all of that. And I really do feel this is a masterclass in that.
Well, and especially when you consider that with this film, as with Speed, Jan De Bont beat out Michael Bay to get the job. And one can imagine the Michael Bay version of both of those movies.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Right?
I can picture it. And you know what? I bet it'd be exciting, honestly. But it would be... Well, I was about to say heightened. It's not to say this movie isn't heightened because it is heightened, but like I wouldn't feel as on the ground or, you know, like as you're as much in the passenger seat, like I was saying with him. I think it'd feel be a lot more sizzle to it. It'd be, you know,
there'd be like a nightclub scene for some reason.
Yes, exactly.
Son of a bitch. Jonas Miller, he's a nightcrawler. We all started out in the same lab. Jonas went and got himself some corporate sponsors. He's in it for the money, not the science. I fucking love this movie. Doesn't have Dorothy.
On this rewatch, I have to say, I was feeling more than I felt before. I was like, man, Melissa gets done dirty a little bit here.
She does. Poor Jamie Gertz. She's kind of the unsung hero of this movie, like, because she's just exposition. Like, she's the audience, you know.
It's true. They need someone. These people need someone to talk to explain what they're doing for our sake.
Yeah,
but it honestly, about halfway through, and she's like, "Go, you should be with her." My heart kind of breaks for her, you know, because she's not like the mom in The Parent Trap or something. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like, she's very sweet, actually. You know?
Yeah, she's like, "Don't worry about me. I know my way home." You're like, "Oh,
yeah,
right,
you know,
right." Yeah.
Even turn the volume up. Even how he talks to this freaking tow truck driver. Oh, maybe 10 minutes, 15 tops. Sounds good. Fucking A. This movie rules.
So as we watch Bill Paxton's hair falling in the breeze there, worth mentioning that when he came in, he had just come off of Apollo 13, so he had like a buzz cut, and that was, he almost didn't get the job because his hair was too short, and Bill Paxton had to assure Jan De Bont, "No, my hair grows fast." Because Jan De Bont wanted hair that flaps in the breeze. He had very specific.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Carrie Elway's group here. This is like a who's who too. There's like Jake Busey. There's Jeremy Ben Ruby. There's
Abraham Ruby.
Abraham. There's Abraham Ben Ruby.
Zach
Grenier. Yeah. There's the
guy
dude.
From, Parker Lewis.
Yeah.
Kubiak.
Yeah, we just saw him, Brian. We just saw him in The Shadow a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, he had unfortunate end in that one.
The guy that's the Bob in the elevator at the beginning of Speed, the little sort of
Yes.
guy. Thanks for pushing that, Bob. Yeah,
Patrick Fischler.
sure. And then the kid,
I see you, Patrick.
the guy from he's in one of those new Star Trek shows. He was the best friend in Adventures in Babysitting. He had kind of that tragic sort of happening with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly.
Anthony Rapp?
What's his name?
Anthony Rapp, yeah, he's back there.
What?
Yeah. You see him for like 3 seconds in the whole movie, but he's part of that group too.
And
I really
guy with
enjoy your weather reports. Yeah, sorry.
The guy with the curly hair on our team, that's Joey Slotnick, right? He was he played he's been in a ton of stuff, but he was in Pirates of Silicon Valley. That's what I remember.
Of Hollow Man fame.
Of Hollow Man, there you go. he was Steve Wozniak in the the movie with Noah Wyle as Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
He was, in fact, according to Steve Wozniak himself, he was Steve Wozniak's favorite Steve Wozniak.
Oh,
Hey.
I got to ask him that question.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Here we established that this movie, which you don't really think about, but this movie just takes place over the course of essentially 24 hours, right?
I didn't remember that. That surprised me on rewatch. I wonder, this must have been so difficult when you're trying to make a movie that's scripted about what's happening with the weather. It must be an absolute headache.
Which, as you'll notice in some of the scenes, like coming up where Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt are in the same yellow truck, like they'll be chasing a tornado in gray skies, and then when you're inside the cabin with them, like it's sunny skies outside. There's a lot of that happens in this movie.
Interesting.
Which the beauty of that is, if you're doing your job well, audiences will not.
Nobody
pick up
cares.
on that.
No,
Right,
totally.
you know?
Yeah.
I read Christopher McDonald was considered for this Carrie Elway's role.
You can
can't you see that?
absolutely picture that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally see that.
And you might even get like a little more of like a grin when he blows up at the end.
Mhm.
Like, see, for some reason, and God bless him because he's so good at playing that guy. That, you know what I mean? Like
Alec Baldwin, too. He was one of the people they were thinking about for Jonas.
I can totally
Interesting.
see that.
Yeah.
Love this. This is the guy who the weather speaks to him. I want to be a guy who like picks up a little bit of dirt and lets it go in the wind and understands. That's what I want.
That's what you want.
It's great.
So this line, maybe it's not right here, but when Dusty comes over to him and is like, he's like, "What's up, boss?" And he's like, "Going green."
Mm.
So that Puppy Dog Pals episode that I wrote, that's essentially a Twister riff combined with like a bunch of Bill Paxton references.
Mm-hmm.
I put one of the characters says "going green" because that's a very specific Twister call out. And I remember Disney just kept being like, what does that mean, going green? Like, kids aren't going to understand that. Take it out. Take it out. And I kept promising to take it out, and then I never took it out. And then...
You know what I love? Like those storm chasers created the BP on the radar or whatever, and you made a Disney cartoon, that also honored Bill Paxton in this movie. It's amazing you got to do that.
Oh, I should. We're talking about. Sorry, real quick. We're talking about fan stuff. I should call it. There's a gentleman I found on Etsy. He went to all the filming locations and he created his own photo book of all these locations throughout Kansas and Oklahoma.
Oh.
With like stills of the movie and what the places look like now. And so like fan made. So I bought one and I told him, like, hey, us Twister fans, we got to stick together. And then, so then I dropped that little nugget, like, hey, you should check out this Puppy Dog Pals episode. And he's like, oh my God, like I watched it with my kids. That was the most amazing thing, and so that was pretty
How funny.
That's cool. He was like, that was you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's amazing.
Now, I was going to say that, I mean, obviously on the regular show, we talk about celebrity passings all the time. And, they're all hard to some extent or another. But I mean, Bill Paxton, when he passed away, it really hit me hard.
Yes.
It is really like, it's just not only just the body of work, but by all accounts, he's just a decent guy. And, I had always hoped, I was like, one day I'm going to interview Bill Paxton. I just want to be able to geek out,
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that it was, it was an accident too. It was essentially like a terrible,
Mhm.
terrible mistake that
Mm.
cost his life.
Ugh.
Just not fair.
But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't remember. What is it? What was it?
So he had like an emergency open heart surgery. Zachy, correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
And many people believe that the doctor essentially just screwed up the operation, which should have been like a very simple procedure.
Oh,
And even Schwarzenegger in a book that he wrote recently talks about it a little bit.
man.
Also saw an interview with Michael Biehn, who was like, yeah, the family, like we all were pretty sure the doctor screwed up big time. And so,
Man.
if that doctor's listening, obviously I don't know you. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just reading
yeah.
a bit from Wikipedia. It's obviously considered the source, but it says the surgeon who performed his operation was sued by the family, and they alleged that he used a high risk and unconventional method that was not present in the operating room when Paxton developed complications such as ventricular dysfunction, tachycardia, and a compromised right coronary artery. So essentially, when he started getting serious, the doctor wasn't even there.
Unreal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it just breaks your heart. Now, the character of Joe, Helen Hunt was Jan De Bont's first choice, but Laura Dern was also considered.
But you can see that too. Yeah.
Totally, you can totally see it. Kind of funny about Helen Hunt because he just had it so specifically in his mind, and I think she's great in the movie, but she had an absolutely miserable experience making this movie.
Yeah, she got hurt a bunch of times, right? And she
didn't get along with Paxton either.
Really?
Yeah, they did not get along at all.
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, even though they had worked together, they were in Next of Kin together, the Patrick Swayze movie. But they had the ride. Remember the Universal Studios ride?
Yeah.
So there's like the video portion, right? The pre-filmed portion. And if you watch it, you can see it on YouTube. The characters interact with each other, but they were filmed separately because they didn't want to work together.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
I mean, you can't tell watching the movie. That's
Not at
great
all.
acting.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
great acting. But yeah, they were not fans of each other while making this movie anyway.
and none of us know them personally, but I think it's safe to say it's probably her fault.
This is like, and then we're like, look, but Helen Hunt, if you're listening right now, we just want we make like apologies throughout this thing to like 7 different people. Yeah, but if Mark Mancina, the composer of this film, is listening right now, I just want to say I'm sorry. Like,
oh, dude, let's talk about that. This is a phenomenal action score, very much of its time, but also works so wonderfully in this movie.
Yeah, he was a Zimmer guy, right? And then Speed was his big break, and Speed is, I mean, iconic, that score. Yeah. And he's been going ever since. I mean, he's working on Moana 2 at the moment. So
yeah,
and the first Bad Boys, which I'm telling you, that score has a riff. What I love about it is, Brian, when I was down there a couple weeks ago, I think we spent the whole weekend just randomly humming it. Dude. Yeah. And then my son started doing that a couple days ago. He's never even seen the movie.
Really? Yeah. We were doing it so much. We wouldn't even realize we were doing it. And we're like, oh, yeah. Damn it.
It's so funny.
Yeah. But I got to say, I mean, just going back to Helen Hunt, it was interesting because Jan De Bont really, really wanted her. Right. Mm-hmm. And I guess the studio was kind of against it and they wanted him to audition other people. And he sounds like, I mean, if you read these things, if they're to be believed, he sort of sabotaged some of them because he's like, no, I know who I want. We're done. Like, yeah. I'll go through the routine here if you want, but at the end of the day, it's going to be Helen
supposedly
Hunt.
He would even tell the actresses that came in, like, yes, thanks for coming in, but I'm going to go with Helen Hunt, but thanks for coming in,
Yeah. I think she's great. I mean, I think she wears that, she's putting up this tough exterior, but then when she has these little vulnerable moments to herself, whatever she's doing with her face, it's just, you feel it.
Well, and that's the trick is she's got to be smart and sexy and believable in this role. Like there's all these layers that have to be present for the character to work, right? and vulnerable, as you said, and it's tricky, and obviously, knowing the career Helen Hunt has had, you say, oh well, you can see why she's good. She's good in the role, but certainly, given the other types of movies she's made, it's not normal for her either.
Sure.
Right.
And something that I thought was kind of cool, I saw Jeff Nathanson was on set helping with rewrites all during photography. And Helen Hunt said that one of the things that he worked on was she was worried that the interactions between her and Jamie Gertz's character were feeling catty. And so they worked to sort of, get rid of that sort of bitchiness that could be there between them. And I think you can
there's
sense
a little bit of it earlier in the diner.
There is, but it's a little bit more of an awkwardness.
Yeah.
And it's not like an overt rudeness even.
But that's as bad as it gets. That's kind of the point I'm making.
Yep.
But that's what I love, because then it doesn't make you hate anybody.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No one's acting like a child,
It makes you hate Bill for being just so goddamn desirable. That's the problem.
We got to give credit to the special effects team on this. So when this movie came out, I remembered watching those, like it might have even been on CBS News or something like that. Like, check out the technology they're using to make tornadoes. And the fact that there's not a single real tornado in this movie, still watching it, almost 30 years later, these special effects look fantastic. And I don't think, obviously, given what we're capable of today, it may not seem like such a feat, but look at that. And that was like frame by frame animation and rendering too at the time to create these tornadoes out of nothing and the debris. Yeah. And then to marry it all together with, wind machines and, sort of in color timing and all that kind of stuff. Like, this movie is just put together so well.
It's incredible when you say it that way. When we were growing up, you're used to seeing a movie from 30 years ago and you'd see sort of the matte lines of things and your eyes just sort of forgave it. But I can't believe this is 30 years old. This is very early CGI technology. It looks really good. Like you said, it blends well with a lot of the practical things that they're doing as well.
And this movie was nominated for an Oscar, but it lost to Independence Day, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And what's funny is you watch Independence Day now and you can see like the digital lines around those ships and like you can see how computer generated a lot of those effects are because it's also super clean as well in that movie.
Yeah.
And this
I would say that's part of that movie's charm, I would say.
Yeah.
I love this thing right here.
It's crazy. Sorry, what were you saying?
Just with the truck lifting up. That feels very Spielberg to me.
Yeah.
Like, I think now people would see that just like the slow, like, I feel like now they'd want to make it a little more sensational and it would like rip up and it would spin around and whatever. But that's sort of, it's ominous to see the wheels leave the ground really slowly. The headlights just sort of exit frame where they shouldn't be going and in a direction they shouldn't be going. And it's, that's the touch.
It's very Close Encounters.
Yeah.
Very Close Encounters. Yeah. Maybe that's why I'm responding to it.
And you don't get the wide shot until the aftermath.
Yeah. It's more haunting that way.
Yeah. Like you're in it with them through the whole experience. Where's my truck?
Poor Jamie Gertz.
She really is like an unsung hero in this movie.
Yeah.
Because she'd been around, Jamie Gertz, but she had never really done anything big, right? She was like
Lost Boys.
Yeah, Lost Boys. She was always kind of like, cute love interest, kind of, never like she feels like the real person who got sucked into the movie and is like, what the hell? Like,
And she's totally she doesn't look at these people like they're weirdos. I think it's you're right. She's a really key ingredient to this movie working.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you can imagine the stepmom from Parent Trap version of this character.
Right.
And they smartly didn't do that.
Or even like, I got mud all over my jacket or something.
Yeah.
And then you just
I broke a nail.
Yeah. She's not like that at all. Like, she's pretty game, honestly.
Yeah.
She's trying.
Now, Garth Brooks was originally approached to play Dusty.
Yeah, Chris Farley too, right?
No, I can totally see that. I mean, that might have been like...
I can see both of those, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. He's just like, well, Garth Brooks can't do it, but Chris Gaines can. And then Jan De Bont was like, moving on.
He just turns around and comes back with like a black wig.
Yeah.
Just looking at Alan Ruck, I kind of love that we're in the middle of this Ruck-assance right now. Like if you would have told me that Cameron Fry would be considered a zaddy.
Yeah, we just watched that too. We just watched that with the kids for the first time. They loved it.
Oh, really?
Ferris Bueller, yeah. And then, funnily enough, I was reading that John Hughes approached Bill Paxton to play the parking lot attendant.
Oh, interesting.
In Ferris Bueller, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because he was in Weird Science. He was Chet, obviously we know him as Chet, yeah.
Oh, how funny. This thing made $500 million too worldwide.
Against a $90 million budget.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, again, that's in 1996 dollars. That is extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. And you can see this playing worldwide. Also.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just, yeah.
For a while there, I remember this was like in the top 20 biggest movies of all time for like a long, long time. Obviously, like now where like all the Marvel movies make $1 billion and all that, like it's maybe just adjusted for inflation or something. It still ranks up there, but I could always hang my hat on that as a fan of being like, excuse me, it's one of the biggest movies of all time. Don't judge me.
What was she looking at? Oh, she's looking at how slow he's driving. Space. But you think about it in 1996, we take for granted. Oh, here's another one of those sweeping, amazing shots.
It's just stupid.
And then you go right over to the villains, right? Yeah. Oh, that's good stuff.
I mean, I just love imagining him just sitting there and being like, what we're going to do? We're going to sweep over this and have all these cars going, and then we're going to go past it and keep flying. And then it's like, yeah, sure. How are you going to pull that off? But they do.
I know. And the original DP left, right?
Yeah.
Don Burgess.
Yeah, they went through 2 DPs on this one.
Yeah.
Well, the first one left because Jan De Bont was being kind of an asshole. He like knocked a guy down on the set.
So apparently there's two versions of that story. Like he either knocked a guy down or somebody. By the way, I always thought she looked like the mom from Home Improvement, the lady in the lab there.
Yeah.
But there was like an article that cited that like Jan De Bont says no, we had it set up for a very specifically sort of choreographed shot. We were only going to get one chance at it, and somebody was about to walk into the scene, so he like impulsively jumped over and pushed the guy out of the way so he wouldn't be on camera. Which,
like to apologize
who cares?
to Jan De Bont for anything.
Again, it's how. I mean, if people listening, we've learned enough about Hollywood.
I mean, here's what we know:
when somebody acts like a dick.
Whatever the reason, dude got knocked down, and DP was like, you know what, I'm out of here, and my people are out of here.
I'm willing to bet it was like a blending of the two stories. It was probably, I can totally accept that he was probably protecting a shot, but how he did it may be questionable.
Jan De Bont's like, now it's ruined, isn't it? Ah, da, 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 da.
Classic.
Which, Brian, we're going to bring that back in a couple weeks, probably, right?
Yes, we are.
Teaser. Tee.
It is kind of funny too. This reminds me of like the 90s. I watched Sleepless in Seattle recently, and there was always the other person you didn't want your two main characters to be with, or the one,
right.
You know what I mean? The whoever it is, male or female, it's like someone you didn't want them to be with. And it's just funny that usually they just had one quirky trait where I was like, he sneezes a lot. Well, clearly Meg Ryan shouldn't be with that guy, like, and it's like, in this one, it's funny because I started when it said she was a therapist. I was worried they were going to make her like, big city person who believes in therapy or something like that. But they don't.
She's just a nice person.
Yeah, she's just
She's a very nice, tolerant person who gets literally just pushed to the edge.
Yeah, and then they just give her a little bit of business, which rounds her out a little bit, but it also gives a little bit of comedy here while she's trying to do her job in the middle of the storm. She's good at her work too.
Makes you wonder, like, if they had stuck together through all this, like, when would their relationship have fizzled out? Because obviously it was going to fail at some point.
Right. She didn't even know his nickname.
The Extreme.
It is kind of amazing too that people are giving him crap about becoming a weatherman. I was like, you're on TV, you get good seats at restaurants, you're probably paid well. I'll be a weatherman, right? You're out of your mind.
Ridiculously cheesy blockbuster dialogue movie. I love it so much.
Man, yeah, just the lighting and I mean the way that they match all this stuff. It couldn't have been easy. I mean, now you can digitally color time everything, and you can change every pixel to whatever color you want. But I think in these days it was probably still chemical, right? So it's probably just clever lighting, shading.
Yeah, I remember Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was the first major movie to be like digitally color timed.
And things were never the same.
No, things were never the same. This movie also did wonders for the sale of Dodge trucks. I'm sure.
Good well, Dodge and Chrysler and Ford were fighting over who got to be the official cars for this movie, and so Chrysler won out, and literally they were like, "You can do whatever you want with them."
Can you imagine? Steven Spielberg's making a movie about like tornadoes and the heroes drive trucks that survive all the weather. Who wouldn't want to be the truck brand?
I wanted a big red Ram, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that sounded dirty. I wanted a big red Ram truck.
I was judging very carefully if I should say what was in my head.
Well, we were joking before you hopped on, Brian, how we introduced Zachy to Big Sir. I can't even say it with a straight face.
That time, you and Brian 8 years ago, you took me and introduced me to Big Sir.
Right.
The mountain.
The mountain. Yeah.
Cow.
Man, how much conversation did that cow get in the pop culture realm?
Oh, man. Yeah.
That was like, you know what I mean? That was like the pop culture quote of the moment. Like, boy, I'm flying around like that cow in Twister. Everybody's like, I understand that reference currently.
Dude, that's hilarious. I think I read
it was like a Jay Leno thing. Yeah, Kevin, it's a cow in Twister, Jay.
Who's Jay Leno?
Do your kids know who Jay Leno is? I guess for both of you?
They do, but that's because they're my kids. Right? I think I told the story. I think I told the story before where I was driving somewhere and I put on the Late Shift, like the audio book of the Late Shift. And so I was listening to some of it with my son, my third son. He's 13 now. He's probably like 9 at the time. And then later on we watched the movie, and he was like, "Oh, I was wondering what Warren Littlefield looks like."
Man.
He's like 9 years old.
I love it. Oh boy, here we go. They're reconnecting.
Uh-oh, they're touching.
Not good.
She's pointing.
She's realizing. By the way, so Twisters, it's like the natural progression to a sequel. Why one tornado? Let's have 2 tornadoes. We got 2 tornadoes in this movie. I'd forgotten.
That's right.
Water
so they
tornadoes.
Should have called the new one Twisters.
Yes.
Twisters.
Yes.
I think they should have made it the child of the tornado from this one out for revenge.
I would love that. I would actually love that.
That's the sequel I want.
Poor Jamie Gertz. She's starting to lose it.
I know.
Look at them. They're all excited.
I know. And who wouldn't? I guess, I was reading about making of stuff, and that CGI cow that went by, I guess, was originally a CGI zebra from Jumanji.
Jumanji.
Funny.
Yeah, they just reskinned it.
I love that. A lot of flying
Food.
animals in the 90s.
Yeah, that's true.
It is so crazy to look at Philip Seymour Hoffman in this, and I mean, notwithstanding obviously the tragic circumstances surrounding his death, the fact that like in this movie, like this is one of the greatest actors of all time,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, nah. I was going to say Cuba Gooding Jr. won an Oscar, but I like Cuba Gooding Jr. I didn't want it to sound like I was.
so I mean, if you were to look at lists of like all-time great actors, Philip Seymour Hoffman would be on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of him, all the Paul Thomas Anderson movies, of course.
First thing I saw him in was Happiness. You ever see Happiness?
No, but I've heard a lot about
Oh,
it.
God.
Yeah.
Marco Bonassi, if you're listening.
Yeah, he's the one. He calls up Laura Flynn Boyle and starts like jerking off on the phone.
Yep.
I was like, this guy right here, one of the all-time great actors. I said to myself.
He says to myself. And this lady, gosh, I'm bad with names, but she's in Minority Report. Aunt
Lois
Meg.
Smith.
Lois Smith as Aunt Meg.
Is she in the greenhouse?
Yeah, she kind of like comes on to Tom Cruise. Gets weird. It gets uncomfortable between the two of them.
That whole movie's uncomfortable.
That is true.
Oh man, this was hard watching this last night. Steak and eggs.
This is where I learned that fun fact about lightning, which is true actually. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's no place to hide, if there's a lightning strike, you should get down and stick your butt in the air.
Yeah, really?
I guess so. Yeah.
Makes me think of Homer. I grabbed a piece of sheet metal and found the tallest tree I could
The
find.
tallest tree. Yeah. So I was reading Jan De Bont is a pretty hardcore vegetarian, and this scene was very uncomfortable for him to
I can see
to
that.
film.
Actually, I guess sort of related. When the cow was flying by, I'm sure as a kid I thought it was hilarious, and this time I kind of felt bad for the cow.
Yeah. Because he's like, "Where'd you get your beef? Oh, did you see my cows out front? No. Oh."
Yeah.
You're like, ew. oh. They almost touched again.
Oh, it's electric.
Boogie woogie with it.
You know what's funny, by the way? I guess you guys probably saw this too with the trivia, but I didn't know this. But I guess there's a scene with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he's sitting in a lawn chair, and he lifts his leg while he's laughing, and you can see his balls.
Yep. Yeah. Apparently,
And so,
his junk. Yes.
and it's like a Roger Rabbit Laserdisc situation where nobody really caught it, and then on home video they took the frames out, so those are not in there now.
Oh, wow.
You saying that reminds me. Some people probably know this, but this was the very first DVD was Twister, and it was also the very last HD DVD ever produced.
I love the bookends.
Yeah, and so when I was a teenager, I was working at Marshall Fields at the Stratford Square Mall. They had upstairs, there was an electronics department, so it was electronics and luggage. It was basically just like, let's fit all the leftover stuff in this corner. So electronics and luggage. But anyway, this was kind of like when the Bose home surround sound stuff was getting popular. So we had this Bose surround sound setup, and we had a free copy of Twister that was sent to us from Bose to promote their movie. So a lot of my afternoons after school were, I was basically getting paid to watch this in surround sound. And when people would come by and explain to them what the surround sound is, like, here, let me find you a cool part of Twister, and we could turn it up and you can feel the subwoofer and blah, blah, blah. And
Dude, I love that.
yeah.
You know what's funny? Like, I have a memory of being at Stratford Square Mall, and they would show Terminator 2 on Laserdisc.
Yeah.
And they would just, because it's chapters, right? I mean,
Yep.
which is not novel anymore. But it was like they would just show the truck chase on repeat. And I would tell my mom, I'm like, you can go, whatever you want to do. Like, you want to go to Macy's or something? I'm just going to stand here. And I would watch that truck chase over and over and over again. Probably when I was like 12 years old. So it's funny, we had like a similar sort of, staring down our obsessions at Stratford Square Mall.
And also, speaking of Paul Thomas Anderson, you made me think of that scene in Boogie Nights where we first meet Don Cheadle, and he's trying to sell stereo speakers with country western music. So I would try to sell stereo speakers I would bring my Huey Lewis and the News CDs to to work.
Well, you'd bring your own
Yeah,
music.
bring my own, because the sample CDs were. It was like I just got tired of listening to the same songs over and over. So it would always be like, I'd pop in and be like, yeah, I want a new drug, or like harder rock and roll. And then I remember the housewares department, like months had gone by, and this woman that always had the afternoon night shifts at the same time, she came over one time and she's like, do you listen to anything else besides who you listen to news? She's like, please, for the love of God.
Wow.
Like every time I come in, you're blasting Huey Lewis in the news.
Well, for those who don't know, I mean, yeah, like Sean is Huey Lewis fan number one. And speaking of like manifesting, right? I mean, when you had Puppy Dog Pals and you were casting characters for that show, you're like, well, what about Huey Lewis as the junkyard dog? And not only did you get him cast in the show, you became chummy with him. You became pals.
Yeah. I got a birthday message from him, birthday video.
Mm-hmm.
Got to talking to him on the phone that one, like before I had any inkling that he was going to seriously be a part of it. I got a phone call one day, and it was our casting director, Allison Bosch, and she's like, hey, somebody on the other line who wants to talk to you. I was like, all right. And then there was this pause, and then just that unmistakable rasp, Sean. And I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I was like, Huey?
Amazing. I love that. I love that. That's like speaking your dreams into reality. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about this scene last night. And sometimes in movies like this, where it really is more about the ride than the story. I mean, the story, you want the story to be enough. It needs to be good enough so you actually care. But like sometimes it'll slow down for something that like maybe the writer cares about more than anybody else.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This scene totally works. It's just the right amount of time. It makes me care enough about Helen Hunt's character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it makes you also get, we need to get endeared as the characters are to this Aunt Meg character.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we see the little thing spinning outside. Dangers are brewing. I was like, this is like the perfect version of that scene where we're going to slow down for a minute in a movie like this.
It's a beautiful moment too, because she's up there with Aunt Meg and she's stuck in the past, right? And she's looking out the window and she's very much in the past, looking at the metal things spinning around, being like, it's so beautiful. And then you cut to Bill Paxton looking at the same stuff, and he's focused on the future and the mission ahead.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like there was an era in movies where there was a lot of people who lived out in the country and made like spinning metal sculptures. Now, I don't have a lot to back this up other than the movie Castaway. But am I wrong? Wasn't there like a few of these things? Oh, by the way, this shot was really captivating to me last night. You got that thing rising up, you got the tree passing, you got the thing like and then the truck's taking off.
She's still there, you know. Yeah. And then this,
yep.
I want to go to Wakita and see that water tower.
Which apparently you were, go ahead.
No. Yeah. So in Wakita,
this
Oklahoma,
shot right here. Look at this shot, by the way.
I
Fantastic.
know.
Amazing.
This, like, how fast is that freaking helicopter?
I know.
like
insane. You just have a drone doing it.
Yeah. But yeah, and, there's an actual Wakita, Oklahoma, where there's a Twister museum.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is, I read, is very dog friendly. So if you're in the area and you've got your dogs. And
still, I mean, it's still there, and it's still very a popular destination, you know, which is kind of bananas.
Yep.
You got the Van Halen rock guitars going. You got these cool ass aerial shots. This movie's so fun.
The Van Halen thing was kind of interesting. Did you see that? I guess they were like contracted to make 5 songs for the movie, but there was just some discord within the band.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately,
that was at the time when Sammy Hagar was in the process of leaving.
Yeah. But the song that turned out was great.
Well, and Hagar said that they actually recorded one more song together for this movie, which never made it. But this is what he said. He's like, it exists. It's out there, and you know, it'll probably come out someday. And so it's like the lost Van Halen Twister song.
Yep. So they're there. Oh, I love this, flying over the hill. Mm-hmm. So they were quoting the movie Repo Man right there, which makes me think of mutual friend and Brian's former boss, Alex Sundell, who didn't she make you watch Repo Man? Because that's like one of her favorite movies.
No,
She, like, forced you to watch
I know
it,
why
or-
you're thinking that. She made me watch Remo Williams.
Remo Williams,
Yes.
completely different.
Yeah. No, but it's not, I know why in your brain that would trick that.
Anyway.
But I've never seen Repo Man.
My mind slipping.
But I do like, those guys are. I mean, that's the thing. When you have all of these side characters, you need to give them quirks. And you have the couple guy, the guy don't, roll the maps, and you have the people, the guys quoting movies. It's good shorthand. Which, by the way, I don't know if Sean, you would probably know better than this. Sometimes the stuff you read online, you don't really know how seriously to take it. But I saw something that said this was shot as an R-rated film.
Yeah,
I was reading that too. Yeah,
Which immediately I doubt.
Right.
Because this is like a total family 4-quadrant summer blockbuster. However, they were saying that in editing it down, I'm willing to believe that they went a little too far, because I heard that they let them improvise a lot, so maybe a little more than they expected. But in doing that there was a lot of scenes that were lost with Cary Elwes.
Yeah, that's right.
And that makes sense to me, because he is a good foil and he shows up as much as we need to feel like there's some rivals. But you can imagine there being a little more, especially with it being Cary Elwes. I can imagine that there's probably some scenes missing here.
And it's interesting because you can imagine the version of this movie where he does something that puts people in danger.
Right.
He really doesn't do anything wrong in this movie. You know what I mean? Like he's stolen their idea, and he's trying to take the credit for what they all supposedly worked on together, or what Bill and Joe
Yeah, he
worked
needed
on.
to be a little more Weasley. He needed to be a little more Josh Lucas.
He's just kind of a pompous ass.
I don't know why I picture Josh Lucas as like the douchebag version, the douchebaggier version.
But so like when he meets his demise later
Josh
on,
Lucas for anything I said.
I apologize to Josh Lucas.
Yeah. They're not going to let you step into a Home Depot now, isn't it? Doesn't he do this? Sorry.
Because when Cary Elwes, when his character bites it at closer to the end of the movie, it almost feels intentional that right before he gets killed, he acts like the biggest ass that he's acted like in the whole movie.
In the whole movie, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like that moment is immediately followed by him getting smashed by that flying debris.
Yeah, as the audience, you're like, well, they tried.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, a bad version, you can imagine, like, he's fiddling under the hood of one of their cars so they won't make it in time, or like he's spying on something, intel that they have that he doesn't, or you can picture something like, and then them catching him and being like, "Get out of here, you jerk!" What a jerk!
What a jerk!
Man, that's the move in this, isn't it? Following the people one way and then cutting over and then seeing the other track. It's good. There's a lot of swivel in this movie too, which I love. A lot of like, we should talk about the hail too, by the way. This is like insane. I guess they didn't have enough ice in Oklahoma, so they were having it shipped in from Iowa
and mixing it with
milk.
Yeah, so it showed up in film.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's incredible. Isn't that like just Hollywood, right? Where it's like, well, we need ice, but we can't have ice from this state. No, we need to get ice from 3 states up north and have it.
You remember when we were talking about Die Hard 2? There was something similar that they went through to get.
Yeah, shipping snow, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So if you have the DVD, watch the making of featurette, and if you don't, just look it up online. The behind the scenes of the hail scene here, it's really, really cool. I mean, it's crazy because they've got a giant truck in front of the red truck that's basically like blasting sharded pieces of ice.
Unbelievable.
With like a jet engine, right? Like,
yeah.
Man, how did they like not lose their eyesight in this movie?
No, I mean they were literally like the crew, like they were testing it on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
At what's the proper velocity to not get sawn in half with this stuff,
Yikes.
It's like, hey, stand over there. I'm gonna shoot this ice at you.
Yeah,
No.
can you imagine being a PA on this movie? Like,
Right? It's like that Class Action Park, you know.
yeah, right.
So yeah, I'll give you $100 to just to do this dead drop. Okay.
Okay.
What I love too is like how nonsensical and non-specific all the setting up to like quote unquote prepare Dorothy for flight. It's like unlatch, do this, twist this,
Right.
press these buttons. It's like it doesn't mean anything, but it's just so cool to look at
Yeah.
and hear. Like the sound effects are so badass.
Well, I was thinking too, if I was writing this, realizing that that's the conclusion of this movie is like they keep getting thwarted launching Dorothy, so that's going to be the conclusion. And I was like, you'd have to keep coming up with ways to thwart them. You know what I mean? And like, and not make it feel like, oh, come on, like it just open the damn hatch, you know?
Yeah, like those scenes there. There's a truck in front of them that's just like throwing stuff at Bill Paxton in the back of that truck. That boat was obviously fake, but
Yeah.
still cool.
Well, still works.
We also whizzed past the Star Wars reference. That's no moon. That's a space station.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, man, I gotta say, I mean, you know, that's the other thing too, I think, back in the day when CGI was in its infancy, I think they knew what it was capable of. You know, like now, well, we're still on our way to trying to figure out how to make people look good. But, you know, there's just certain things that our eyes won't buy. But if you have like a cyclone, you know, like that's something you can do and it looks about right. And I think that's why it holds up all these years later. Like that's why the boat looks like a little dodgy. At this moment in time.
Right.
And it's great because for the most part, they're really actually dropping tractor equipment. You know, and so it looks great. So you just get that one little boat moment. But the tornadoes themselves, I think, look great.
So now, Zachy, going back to our almost 30 years of friendship, and the fact that we had never watched this movie together, like what are your feelings of this movie?
I kind of hate it, to be honest. I guess now is as good a time as any. No, I enjoyed it a lot. I missed it in theaters.
Okay.
Yeah, because it came out at a time when I didn't get to the theaters that often, you know. So like, so like 1996, my theater movie that year was Independence Day. Right. So I didn't end up watching it until it was on home video and I rented it. But by virtue of not watching it, I did get to see all the like made for TV ripoffs.
Yeah.
Like they had a movie on Fox called Tornado! Starring Bruce Campbell, which was written by John Logan of Gladiator, by the way.
Oh, dude. Wow.
And then there was another movie called Night of the Twisters.
Yep. I'm familiar with that one. Yeah.
But so when you and I met, I had not seen it yet, but you were already, you know, espousing its virtues. So I had that in the back of my mind by the time I did get around to watching it.
I washed my hands. It's I don't know. You can make anything sound dirty. So
now this
espousing its virtues.
Yeah. If you know what I mean. You know, Jan De Bont, by the way, before he decided to take on this project, he was attached to Sony's Godzilla.
Wow.
Right? And that's why he ended up doing this, because he was totally on board with Godzilla. This was the Ted Elliott, Terry Rossio script, and Toho was totally on board. And Sony was like, no, you know, it's going to cost too much. I think it was like budgeted at 100 and he wanted 110 or something like that. And so he's like, all right, well, never mind then. And then, you know, they brought on, they went to Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin, and those guys spent more than what De Bont wanted anyway.
Wow.
So that was just a bad decision all the way around. But as a result of him being freed up from Godzilla, he decided to take this on. But he had said, had he made his version of Godzilla, he would have wanted Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt in that movie. So he had kind of in his mind, it was always, something that he was thinking about.
As I'm trying to think now, it was like a cameraman, right? The Hank Azaria character, or I guess the Matthew Broderick character.
The version that was made is completely different from what he had planned to make.
I see. I'd love to see it. The Jan De Bont Godzilla movie.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier. I mean, he made 3 movies in a row that underperformed, and then it's like Hollywood's like, never mind. And I'm like, the dude made Speed and Twister.
Yeah.
Come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Give him a good movie.
And it wasn't even a situation like Jan De Bont's like, well, I didn't even really want to direct. I just sort of fell into it. It was always his dream to be a film director.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, just let him make movies, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know?
I know.
Come play with us, Brian.
This is the first time I ever saw an image from The Shining.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember it feeling like terrifying. Like just the clips they show in this movie, I was like, what is that movie? That movie is like frightening. And then years later, it became one of my favorite movies. But
what's interesting is that De Bont went to Kubrick to ask permission to use that clip from The Shining.
Wow.
And apparently 2 of the guys on Carrie Elway's cruise, one of them is named Stanley and one of them is named Kubrick.
Oh,
that's right.
Funny.
Yeah.
But it's perfect. It is kind of a chilling movie on the screen as we're building up to something, ominous again.
So I gotta say, okay, so coming up here, this girl that works in the cafe,
Yeah.
she's like, I'll have 8 coffees, please. And the girl goes, 8?
Yeah.
This is something, just a random thing that stuck with my daughter when she watches it. So like every time she hears the number 8, she always goes, 8?
I love that.
Yeah. So that's like one of our things.
That's cute.
That's funny because that moment stood out to me last night. I'm thinking it was a very natural interaction.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause she's probably an extra from, wherever this is,
Local.
Iowa, Oklahoma, somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, poor Jamie Gertz.
I know. Well, we got the old overheard the thing she didn't want to hear on the radio thing just happened.
Right now, she's thinking, if I was on a sitcom with Mark Addy, none of this would be happening.
Did you know, by the way, that she is currently worth $8 billion?
Yeah. She's married to the guy that owns the Atlanta Hawks basketball teams. 8? There she goes.
There it is. For your daughter.
Yep, $8 billion.
$8 billion.
Well, hot damn.
She's the celebrity, I don't know, someone from Hollywood worth the most, only behind Steven Spielberg.
Interesting.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it because of her marriage, or is she also involved in?
She'd probably have the receipts before I bring up this story. I don't know that if it was by marriage or if she was bought into something.
No, it says she is the sports team owner.
Yeah.
So maybe she co-owns. Yeah.
Ah, good investment. Good for her.
The majority of Jamie Gertz's net worth comes thanks to her longtime marriage to billionaire investor / sports team owner Tony Ressler. Jamie and Tony are part owners of the Atlanta Hawks. They also own a minority stake in the Milwaukee Brewers.
What? Dude, that's another crazy connect. Anyway, my mind is blown for a second. I used to have an autographed picture of Jamie Gertz somewhere. It was a personalized picture.
Really?
Wow,
Where did
that's
you get
pretty
it?
cool.
Yeah, when I was working on Brian, you remember this story, right?
I remember this story.
Yeah, Zach remembers this story. So
Sure.
when I was working on that 70s show, way back when my Hollywood career started,
This is like 20 years ago.
yeah, they were filming that sitcom, which
Still
was
Standing.
called Still Standing. They would film that on the next stage over. So our production offices were next to each other. And we got, I was a PA and all the PAs from both shows got chummy with each other. And I let it slip that I was like, oh man, I used to have a big crush on Jamie Gertz. There was this movie called Solar Babies, which is a terrible movie, but she's like super cute in that movie. And I guess the PAs told her about it. So one day I got this picture in my inbox at work that said like, "I'm a big fan of yours too."
Wow.
Love Jamie
Look at
Gertz.
this.
Yeah, and then very briefly, I got to meet her in passing. She was super sweet. So it's like,
That's amazing. I love that.
Thanks very much. Nice to meet you.
Fun fact about Jamie Gertz: she's born in Chicago, Illinois. She grew up in Glenview.
Hey.
I used to work in Glenview.
Yeah, it's a lot of insurance companies up there, right?
Sounds about right.
It's always like State Farm, Glenview, Illinois, or something. I don't know.
Here's Johnny. That's
Yep.
The tension build in this scene is pretty wonderful.
I'm kind of hypnotized by it.
Yeah. And it's kind of the it's the Jurassic Park watching people react to the dinosaurs before you actually get to see the dinosaurs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's everybody's panic. It's already here.
Yeah.
As soon as he says that, you're like, shit. Run.
Wait, I totally missed Anthony Rapp. Is that like he's done now? We don't see him again?
He's in Carrie Elways' group. But there's like so many people, so many familiar faces on that, in those black SUVs that a lot of them don't even have lines. They're just there.
I'm very curious what scenes were cut, what business they had.
Jeremy Davies as the cowardly Private Upham, playing the cowardly storm chaser.
Yeah.
Saving Private Ryan.
I was just gonna say, kind of like Saving Private Ryan. He's got to be helped and let out of places. Spielberg noted that.
You could have saved Adam Goldberg.
I mean, what is that? A year later?
2 years later.
Yeah.
98. Jeremy Davies was also in that cannibalism movie. You know what I'm talking about? Ravenous. He's like, he was licking me.
I only remember your impression. You're doing that line. That's the only thing from that movie that I know.
What a weird ass movie, which I went to see by myself. I just had an afternoon to kill. I'm like, and I went intentionally. I was like, I am going to go see Ravenous. It wasn't like I ended up at the theater. I was like, I was like, I'm driving. I'm at College of DuPage. I'm going to drive to, Mercado or what, or what was it? The God darn it. The AMC, where was it? Warrenville,
yeah.
I'm going to drive there.
Cantera, yep.
So I can, the Cantera, thank you.
Cantera.
And watch it, I did.
Wait, well, I have to ask, this is pretty amazing here. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. By the way, when that hubcap flies across and hits that guy in the head.
Yeah.
I remember even as a kid thinking that was such a moment that's hard to express, but a feeling I've had where something really terrifying has just happened and it's over, but you are still in the terrifying moment. Like he seems so stunned. And I thought that was played so well and so realistically that I sort of felt that feeling in my chest where I know I've experienced that before.
Now, in all our time growing up in the Midwest, I remember lots of tornado sirens, lots of tornado warnings, lots of crazy weather. I only remember experiencing one actual tornado.
Well, that beats me. I saw a funnel cloud once.
Right there. That's what you were talking about, right, Brian?
Yeah. Just this look he has where it's like, it doesn't even matter what's happening. He's not even going to scream. Like he is in stunned world right now.
I mean, he just dodged something, right? Like,
yeah, could have died. But yeah, no, I remember seeing a funnel cloud pretty close over my house.
Yeah.
And, sirens, like you said, and going green. I remember seeing the sky go green. But yeah, no, so you had a tornado. You saw one?
Yeah, ours happened, and like it could have been the same day for all we know. But yeah, we had it. It was raining really hard, and then the wind picked up, and it was an actual tornado that came down our street. And the windows of the sliding glass doors, the glass actually started to bevel, like curve inward towards the house.
Wow.
And then it didn't last very long. Like it went down our street. And then, but the funny story is afterwards, after the rain stopped a couple hours later, we went out, everybody else's back fence, our house backed up to kind of like a main road, right? And there was these wooden fences that protected that protected our yards from the street behind us. And they were old fences, but everybody else's fences had like just blown down or been torn to shreds, except ours. And my dad was so pissed off about it because everyone else was going to get new fences from insurance companies. So he, like Homer Simpson, he was out there in the middle of the night with a sledgehammer, just smashing down our fence.
I was about to make that joke. That's hilarious that he actually did that.
It's like
So funny.
he's like, one way or another, I'm getting a goddamn new fence. Like,
I love that. Dude, that's amazing.
I remember feeling like Bart, just like walking out in the backyard, like, what's he doing out there? Just smash.
He's like, grab a hammer, my boy.
He did, but it was crazy. There were like fence posts that were sticking horizontally into the aluminum siding of people's houses and stuff.
Holy
like that.
crap!
Crazy. Yeah.
I mean, that's what you hear, right? Like a piece of straw being thrown by a tornado can go, pierce a tree.
Yeah.
It's scary. I mean, oh wait, did you guys watch in school it sounded like a freight train?
Yes.
Remember that? It was like a special that Tom Skilling did, I think, on tornadoes, and I remember it to this day.
You know what's funny is we watched that in junior high because there was the Plainfield, Illinois tornado.
Yes, I remember that.
Was devastating. And we got a bunch of their students ended up coming to our school to finish the school year.
Oh, wow.
And it was almost like they had to educate us on what a tornado was and what these kids had just experienced.
Right.
So we all watched it together.
Oh, wow.
And looking back, I'm kind of thinking like, why did we do that with the kids that just lived through it?
Yeah, a little traumatic.
Because you need to understand what these kids just went through.
They're like, we got it.
Yeah, weird.
So this is where she's not going to join, right?
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to go back to the hotel. And he's like, well, see you there in the morning. I won't be there.
Yep.
She's really good. This is, I don't know, you call it a tightrope, but it's just like you go a little degree this way and she's unlikable. You go a little degree that way. She seems weak. Like she's perfect. Like she can keep up, but she doesn't want to be a part of this.
She sells it so well in her face though. Like she's so strong in this moment.
Yeah. She's sad.
Got so much, she's sad, but with conviction and strength.
Yeah. I do wonder what, sorry. I was gonna say, if he's got this weatherman job lined up, I am wondering what that looks like on Monday, Yeah. Which, by the way, I don't remember if we brought this up or not, but we keep talking about Jan De Bont. But I mean, yes, he directed some movies we like, but he was also a legendary cinematographer, right? Yep. I mean, like Die Hard, Basic Instinct, Lethal Weapon 3. But it's there was a moment, I think we already passed it, but there's like crazy lens flare earlier. And he's the guy I associate with lens flare. I know a lot of people say that about J.J. Abrams. I'm like, no. Jan De Bont is my lens flare. And John McTiernan too,
Yeah, the vault scene in Die Hard.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
And the vault, that's
right.
insane.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, I did the Die Hard Puppy Dog Pals episode. And I even wrote that into that the scene that's riffing on that. I was like, lens flares everywhere. Well, there you go, right there. But he's a master at it because I think people started using them too much, and they also started creating fake lens flares. I think to cover bad visual effects. That's something I learned. And these are all organic. They're all additive. They're all. Yeah, I think
that's a great. Yeah, no, that's a great observation. Yeah.
There, I really felt this. Her seeing the family that resembles her family from the past.
And this moment feels like, when you're doing the tour on the Universal Studios backlot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Makes me think of the War of the Worlds part of the set where you're walking, going through the neighborhood where after the plane crash and stuff.
Yeah,
Which, who
that's
knows if that's even there anymore.
no, it is actually. I was just
Oh, is it really?
there
Nice.
about a year ago, and it is impressive. But it's interesting. Yeah, Federica, when she was on it, she actually got not like upset, like she wasn't upset, but it made her feel uncomfortable because it feels so real.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you imagine people who've experienced something like that.
Now, I had read that the studio bought all the buildings on this street, basically so they could just destroy it.
Yeah.
This was like an actual street in wherever it was, Oklahoma or Kansas or something. And they bought all the buildings for like it was 1996, but it still sounded incredibly inexpensive. It was like $10,000 a building.
Right.
Just so they could blow it all up.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did they do then? Did they replace the houses or?
I don't know.
And you said
Let's
town
say
is
they
where
did.
the museum is, right?
Let's say they did. Yeah.
Yeah, let's say they did.
There's a lens flare with the flashlight. So the town of Waukeeta, I don't know, like, this is supposed to be Waukeeta. I don't know if this set where they filmed it is actually Waukeeta, because I know some of those movies also filmed in Iowa and even parts of Kansas, I think. But yeah, this is supposed to be the town of Waukeeta just getting devastated.
Mm-hmm. You know, I always feel like scenes like this, you know, where someone's trapped under something, you know, it's a movie and they've designed it a certain way, but it always still looks a little dangerous. You know, like what if something collapses or, you know.
I mean, the bit right there with the TV on just being suspended by the cord, right? Like I love the reality of that scenario, right? Because we get that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I think that's why this sequence in particular works so well. It's because it's very Spielbergy, right? It's confined within something we have some familiarity with, you know, and it makes it more terrifying.
That's a great point. Yeah,
and it's an important scene in the film as well because it reminds you that their mission from the jump has been about trying to save people.
Right.
Up until this point, it's just been a fun ride. Yeah, exactly. It's not like they've just been a bunch of
that's a great point.
Shooting their guns in the air, and now it's like a reminder that real people and people that they care about are affected by all this.
Yeah, they would benefit if they can get Dorothy flying.
Mm-hmm.
It is funny though. I mean, those TVs, those are, you know, TVs don't like now. If a TV fell on you, you'd be like, "No, shoot." But TVs back then, man, they were like little, I don't know. One I remember Gross Point Blank. That's something. The only thing I remember from that movie is when that TV falls in that guy's head, and I was like, "Oh, damn!"
Yeah,
it's such a time capsule. It's the equivalent of like movies from the 30s and 40s where pianos would drop on people.
Yeah, right.
There was a time where, at least based on our movies and TV, lots of people were moving lots of pianos everywhere.
right. That's funny.
That line where Alan Ruck is like, "Honey, your car's in a tree around the corner."
Yeah,
reminds me of like blockbusters of this time. They always had that kind of like one super funny line that really got the audience. Like in Jurassic Park, it was like, "That's one big pile of shit," you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I remember that being the line from this movie where the audience really laughed.
That's like a key secret ingredient to these types of movies in Jurassic Park, where it's like, you kind of forget because you've seen Jurassic Park so many times, but the first time I saw it as a 13-year-old, like I was tense.
Yeah.
You know, there's like dread. But it's reminding you that it's fun. So you throw in a line like that and you go, I can laugh. Okay. Like, you know, like I don't need to be on dread the whole time.
Yeah.
Then you return to the dread and you enjoyed it even more because you had that moment of relief. Oh, and Hunt for October. I forgot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude. Lens flare palooza.
Yep. No, yes, Sean, to your point.
Just a nice moment here where Aunt Meg is saying, you know, like, somebody's got to do something about this. You know, we had no warning.
I love that too. And that's good. You know, you could imagine like maybe she should stay with her. And so you get a character being like, no. Like, you'll do me much more good if you go out there and figure this out.
Yeah.
See, I think it'd be funny if Philip Seymour Hoffman's like, "Oh, I'm going to," and he just pulls out a knife and just runs off screen.
We knew we were bound to lose him one day.
He pulls out a knife, starts screaming, and runs off camera. And we never see him again in the whole movie.
Right. And then we never noticed, but at the beginning of Boogie Nights, when he's introduced, you see him like, like he's just stopped running. He like sets a knife down. He's like, hey, what's this, movie set?
Paul Thomas Anderson, like, yeah, I never told anybody. This is like my stealth sequel to Twister. I was like, oh, wow.
That's a cool shot. We got the artwork in the background. And it also is a revelation.
Yes.
You know, it's funny when they're talking about the cans, I remembered it. And I was like, oh man, like immediately I was feeling, I would just slice my hands up doing that.
I know. Yeah.
And then I noticed that they addressed that.
Yep.
They all have sliced up hands and Band-Aids and blood. And I was like, I like that they actually addressed that. Maybe they, did that on purpose so kids would be like, do not cut up Coke cans.
Because remember when you were a kid, you could take an empty Coke can and you could twist it hard enough that it just tears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, which really, I mean, when you think about it, as an adult now, I'm like, that's like an instrument of death.
Yeah.
In every kid's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Crunch it the wrong way.
So Pepsi also paid for some product placement here.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah.
Did I say Coke? I'd like to apologize to the Pepsi Corporation of America.
I'm sure Pepsi, based on their successful product placement in this, they were like, hey, what about this Madam Web movie? Maybe we can be placed in that too. Didn't work out as well.
My close personal friend Jamie Gertz clearly has enough money to bail out all of our legal needs.
Yeah, get on the line, please.
Remember me, the guy that has a crush on you?
Hello? Click. You hang up. Call again. Sorry, our phone got disconnected. Remember me? I'm the...
And I was reading also that Dorothy was inspired by an actual device called Toto.
Toto.
Yeah.
Which I love that. Keeping it in the Wizard of Oz sort of homaginess.
And the little girl's dog at the beginning of the movie is the same breed of dog as Toto from Wizard of Oz.
Oh, that's funny.
But he's called Toti. Because they had to get permission for their Wizard of Oz references. Weird, right?
Is that true?
Yeah.
That's true.
I thought that was a total Zacky joke.
No, that's true. I'm not making that up. They had to, in order to call it Dorothy, they had to get permission. And so they were able to do that, but they couldn't call the dog Toto. They were not given permission to do that.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, really weird.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. There's just something about 90s movies and the way they look. I don't know if it's the lenses. I don't know if it's the film stock.
I'm right there with you.
There's just some sort of dimensionality and
it's atmosphere. The film cameras pick up so much, like just atmosphere that like the digital camera. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Our old man yelling at the cloud moments,
yelling at the tornado.
It's just everything's so clean, and we take such great lengths with like special effects now to make things look dirty and
grainier.
Yeah.
I was reading about how, they wanted to shoot obviously practically as much as possible, and they'd figured out, the amazing effects as far as the tornado. But like when they started shooting, they were blowing the dust with the fans, and they're getting pelted by this dust and going blind. And it's like, okay, new plan. The tornado and the dust will be computer generated.
I mean, it makes sense. He would, hurt their eyes,
right?
And I mean, I thought I read somewhere that they were using like a Boeing jet engine at some point to create enough wind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and there's like one shot later where they ended up getting like their eyes got sunburned, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It sounds like the gauntlet from American Gladiators that these guys are subjected to.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Wasn't that Jared Goldsmith? Didn't he do that? The theme?
Did he? Dun, dun,
Oh
dun,
man.
dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun, dun,
dun, dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun, dun, dun,
dun, dun, dun, dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun, dun.
dun.
Oh, damn it. Dorothy's down again.
It was not Jerry Goldsmith, but you're not
No.
far off. It was Bill Conti.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
So you're in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Nice. See, I like this. I like that the complication here is coming from nature. It hurling things at them and like a tree branch, you know. It feels
Yeah.
I like how the tree makes them face the tornado.
right.
Turns them all the way
yeah,
around.
yeah. But yeah, when you were talking about the light burning their eyes, I guess that was in trying to figure out contrasts, dealing with making the weather match in different shots, right? They were putting like hyper bright lights on them.
Yeah.
And I guess it burned their retinas.
So this tanker truck, so obviously that's CG tanker truck.
Yeah.
But then the one that hits them, it's a truck that, and again, there's really cool behind the scenes pictures where it's just that, like that's just being dragged by a giant crane.
So amazing.
And also the Benthic Petroleum is the same company that Ed Harris works for in the movie The Abyss.
Oh,
Look at
that's so
that.
funny.
Yeah.
Shared cinematic universe.
Yeah, I love that.
It's like how like Wayland Yutani appears in different movies, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom.
gosh. I love it.
That's a good explosion. I mean, that's a wall of fire. It makes me think of the bus, actually, at the end of Speed, when it drives into that plane. Wait, so the gang is hanging back, right? Because they are going to...
Right, because
study
they're the ones
info.
who have Dorothy.
And because it's an
Bill and
F5,
Joey.
right? It's supposed to be a big storm too, so they didn't want to get too close.
Right. By the way, I have a question.
Yeah.
I was reading, and I noticed when I was watching it, I think most notably with the first tornado, that it sounds like in the sound design, they mixed in animal roars a little bit.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that? Like, let me be more specific. I think obviously it's really ingenious when you get people like, Ben Burt and all these, like mixing a million different things to come up with crazy sound effects. In fact, in Terminator 2, the guns don't sound like guns of this earth. You know what I mean? They all sound very weird, which I kind of love. But I think when I see certain movies and there's like a storm or something, but you can notice an animal roar.
Yeah. Yeah, like I hear where you're coming from. Like, and this movie, if you're watching it with sound, obviously, like almost like the monsterness of the tornadoes gets more and more noticeable, especially here at the end when it's basically like just them versus the tornado. You know, it's a little more evident, but I don't know. Like,
I mean, I get the intentionality behind it, which is you're trying to make it seem like a creature.
Totally. And I'm with that. I'm with the rumble. I'm with like a growl even.
Yeah.
But I think when it sounds like, when it's a little too noticeable, I think there was one moment in here where it was like really stood out to me. And I thought like,
Oh, here's the scene we were talking about. He's basically just like, shut up, put your mouth, keep your mouth shut, put your foot on the gas.
Driving.
That poor guy, he's just like,
I
should listen to them. They would never do anything bad. Like, never put us in harm's way.
Yeah, I felt really bad. For this guy.
It definitely, to your point, Sean, it definitely feels like we're missing at least one scene to establish his level of douchery.
Yeah. Or that he doesn't care about his crew or something like
that'll do it.
Oh, that's a horrifying death.
It really is.
And the fact that it's the driver that gets it too, like,
yeah.
I mean, he gets sucked up into the storm and explodes, but
well, I guess then Carrie always gets a minute to think about what he's done.
there you go.
That'll learn him. Yeah, we're talking about animal noises. I was watching Lethal Weapon 3 a couple weeks ago, and the movie, the teaser of that movie has the building exploding, And the sound that you hear is the roar that they used for King Kong in the 1976 movie, the Jeff Bridges one.
How funny.
How funny.
And like, I know that movie front, back, and sideways. So I'm like, that, wait a minute, buildings don't sound like King Kong.
And like, in Star Wars, right? The TIE fighters, like there's the sound of a Wolverine.
Yeah, which is
sort of the
genius
sound
though,
effect
because
that-
it doesn't sound like a Wolverine. He just masterfully repurposed it into something otherworldly. That now I could hear that and go, well, that's a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
I love it too, by the way. Yeah, the tornado's path takes it to like a farm supply store, and it's like picking up ammunition. You know?
Yeah.
This is great. I mean, I guess all this stuff was really dropped by helicopters.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. So dangerous.
It's so dangerous.
This is insane. So
Yeah,
this is real?
The
That's
house,
a real,
yeah.
real house.
Insane.
So I think the house that blows in from farther away is CG, but the one that settles into place that turns like once, and this is all a set.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Except the bear that hits the window at the end is CG.
Oh, the teddy bear.
Yeah.
That was a real house. They actually shot guerrilla style. They didn't get permission.
They waited for a family to leave for the grocery store, and then got all the
house
grip.
down the
They're
road,
like,
yeah.
push!
They just snuck in and left. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love stuff like that. It makes me think of Lethal Weapon 4, right? Where they leap off that freeway and drive through the office.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Fly
Yeah,
out the
yeah.
other side. Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. So, I mean, that sky right there, that must be treated somehow. But it looks so good. I mean, it looks
I
like
know.
a real stormy sky. So I guess, yeah, the weather or seasons or something were changing, and it wasn't to their liking in Oklahoma, so they had to move up to Iowa for this finale.
So like this, you could see the sky's different. They probably had like the filters on the cameras and like when they do the shooting day for night kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and this bit right here where they're about to jump out, Helen Hunt, like the door got pushed back by the corn. She got a concussion.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
She took some punishment on this movie.
And supposedly there's one of the shots like from the inside. Supposedly Jan De Bont was in the driver's seat with a handheld camera.
She did As Good as It Gets next, right?
That was the following year. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then Castaway was 99, right? Or was that 2000?
Castaway's 2000,
2000,
and the 2001 was your favorite movie, Sean, Pay It Forward.
Ah, yes. Be nice. Pay it forward. Stab.
I'm imagining Helen Hunt after several weeks of just enduring all manner of torment, just kind of going to Jan De Bont being like, "Why did you refuse to cast anybody else in this movie? Why was this just for me?"
Success.
I love it. Success. But then
Yeah.
That's great, understandable imagery, though, isn't it?
Oh,
Seeing
it's so
all those
perfect.
little balls and
Yeah.
capturing the shape of the tornado there.
That all being said, watching this movie, one realization, I would not want to be a storm chaser.
Oh, no. No.
well, if it was like this, I would be.
I don't want to. I feel like the momentary thrill would be overshadowed by the mortal terror for the other 89% of the time.
I'd be worried about all the debris.
Yeah,
Like,
True.
Who knows what's being hurled at me?
I'd worry that the barn I took shelter in was a knife house.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's my concern.
Knife
I would tell
toe.
if they ran past Kevin Costner. Hey, what are you guys doing in my? Oh God!
Yeah. My field. And then his son is just like about to come and save him, and then he holds up his hand. No. The world cannot know.
It's like, no, seriously, I could have saved you by the time it took you to raise your hand.
Yeah.
Oh man, see, I don't want to be by that fence.
Yeah.
That's like
Seriously.
100 arrows.
Yeah, it's a no. That's a no from me.
I mean, it looks
But you
great
can-
on film because now we're
Absolutely,
seeing,
yeah.
seeing it ripped up. But I'm just saying in real life, yeah.
But you can tell, like, the way the light hits off the horse fur, I guess, horse hair, and some of the shots with them, like, some of that was clearly like a sunny day that they were that they're trying to recolor and post.
I love that stuff. I was watching something the other night, and it was someone in a graveyard, and it was raining, but you look, and it was like clear as day. There's no clouds in the sky, but it needed to rain for the emotion. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Don't care. Like they colored it as best they could. The rain was worth it, but it's you deal with what you're given.
God, all this is so cool, though. Like,
Man, yeah, this does look really good. Tearing off the shingles, That's the thing is CGI got better and better. It's like they were able to, I don't know, like do new things with it. And I'm just amazed with how much tiny debris they're able to handle this early on. Like these wooden planks flying away right here. You know what I mean? It's not just like chunks, like the boat or something like shape.
And the great thing is they're working within enough limitations where the effects themselves don't look dodgy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They still hold up really well.
Man, that like combine thing that just flew over them, that was like amazing.
Gosh, so this, man, I keep trying to find it on like YouTube and stuff like that. I remember, if you guys remember the radio station, Mix 101.9 FM.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like the adult contemporary alternative to Q101. Bill Paxton was interviewed, and he was talking about making this movie, and specifically this scene, how he was like, very jokingly, he was just kind of like, dude, like, if you watch that, none of this makes sense. I run in there and I'm like, I don't know, these pipes go down like 30 feet. Like, how the F am I supposed to know how far these pipes go down? Like, and he's just like, he's having so much fun with it. And it was so funny to listen to him recount. He's like, yeah, Jan's telling me like, like strap her in. And he's like, okay, well, like, so he made it sound like they just were told, like, run in there and pretend a tornado's coming. And how would you save yourself? And they were just kind of like, okay.
Wow.
And so, like, this is what they came up with.
Hey, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Looks good. I in the 30 feet thing, I was feeling like, why don't I know that? He sells it.
I know. I wish I could find that interview somewhere, but
you do think about that, right? With actors. I mean, we're seeing the finished product, we're seeing what they're looking at, and their terror is selling it. But it would be so weird being on set where there's nothing there except like a wind machine, and you are just like screaming bloody murder and trusting that you're not going to look like an idiot.
Wow, so true.
This is great. I remember this from seeing it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a great conclusion to this movie, like them actually being in the eye of a tornado.
Yeah. And at the time, like, nobody knew what that looked like. It's a cool concept to think that, like, oh, it's actually like peaceful in the middle of it. You know, the blue sky up there. Yeah.
It's funny too. This ending reminded me a little bit of Speed, where it's like two people kind of on top of one another, having just shot out of something intense, and then being like, "Oh, I think we're in love." Like, same sort of energy.
And you guys may have read this too, but so this filming location was somewhere in Iowa, and the original intention was that they were going to destroy the house, the farmhouse. But the Iowa, whatever the town was, like the historical society stepped in because of the age.
That little girl, by the way, that's Jan De Bont's daughter, by the way, the little baby.
But yeah, so like, so the town stepped in and they're like, no, you can't destroy that house because of historical significance. But it works way better that it doesn't destroy the house because
I agree.
Because Bill and Joe, their mission has succeeded, and now the destruction can end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like symbolic. Like
Yeah,
they achieve
totally.
something and then it's possible to preserve.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I like that. I like that better too. This, you know what I mean? I'm getting like real speed vibes here
Mm-hmm.
in a good way. Yeah, even just the, hey, it didn't take the house. It just,
Mm-hmm.
it adds like some joy after we've seen a lot of destruction.
Yep.
So this was, when this movie came out, it was the first time I sort of became aware of the first weekend of May movie,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Which like now that's just part of our, it's first weekend of May, that
Mhm.
nowadays it's mostly a Marvel movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
But, in the 90s it was like Twister, and then it was 96. 97 was Fifth Element, and then 98 was, whatever. It's
Yeah.
like
Lost World was 97, right?
Mm.
was that the first weekend of May? I think that was Memorial Day.
Was it? Okay. All right. Probably right. I trust you more than I trust me.
Oh man, I need to look that up now. What was 97? I know 90 geez. Yeah, this is going to bug me now. What was 97?
Man, I have very vivid memories of seeing this and Mission Impossible so close to one another that
Yep.
summer. I thought this was interesting because this looks so grainy right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, okay, so they're probably in a helicopter, like zoomed in.
Yep.
I just love that. Like it's so tactile, and just
Mm-hmm.
what
And
they had to
it's-
do to get the job done.
And then you also get the sense that like these actors genuinely enjoyed each other's company, the way that they're just messing around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
We can't see it, but they're shoving, they're throwing
Worst
dirt at
kiss
each other.
ever.
Well, kudos to them. Well, by the way, this is a great reveal too, the path of
Yeah.
the tornado here.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I would have had no idea that they didn't get along.
And by the way, it was the Fifth Element in 97. That was the first weekend.
Yes, yes.
What do you think that is? Do you think that's a like computer?
This shot right here. Oh,
Yeah.
the tornado path.
Yeah.
It must be computer.
Michael Kahn.
Yeah, there you
editor.
go.
Yeah.
Mark
Spielberg's
Mancina.
editor.
Nice.
Ellen Mirajnik. I worked with her on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Costumer. And then we get this sort of like little, I don't know, we call it like a tone poem of a song here with Eddie Van Halen. It's kind of nice. I listened to the whole thing.
And apparently because of the songs they were contracted to have to do for this movie, this was Eddie and Alex Van Halen, just the two of them, I guess.
That's
and
right.
supposedly they threw this together like 48 hours before they had to deliver it to Warner Brothers.
Wow. Wow.
It's funny how that stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like Matt Groening coming up with The Simpsons, literally.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to do a series based on Life in Hell, so he just came up with The Simpsons on a lark. And
like anytime you hear those stories and you think like, no way that's how it happened, it just makes me think of that the We Are the World, the Greatest Night in Pop documentary, where it's like, no, they had one night to get all those people together to make that thing happen.
Sometimes that stuff just works out.
Yeah.
So, Brian, final thoughts on Twister?
I mean, this movie is a ride. It is a fun ride. It's filled with characters you enjoy being with. I can only imagine. I mean, it's been a while since 1996, but it must have been mind-blowing seeing the things that they accomplished in here. And I think it's a testament to the movie 30 years later. I think by and large, a few dodgy like things flying through the air aside, like the thrill of it and what they're able to accomplish with like CGI tornadoes mixed with stuff actually getting thrown at them and dropped from the air. This is like a perfectly enjoyable thrill ride.
Yeah.
Sean, how about you?
I've always thought like if I ever had the chance to, to be a Hollywood film director, like these are the kinds of movies that I would want to make. Just fun, campy, tongue-in-cheek, have a good time, strap in, enjoy the ride. I mean, I've gushed over this movie enough as it is on here, but I love this movie to pieces. I I love this era of filmmaking. I love everything about it. It represents such a, I don't know, like a forgotten time that I, with everything being full circle, we always talk about like, trends and fashions, everything full circle. Like, I hope we get back to this kind of filmmaking and storytelling, just these like classic, original, big budget popcorn movies. And for the new one coming out, like Twisters, like I am obviously like, I'm keeping my expectations in check, but I'm hearing fun things about it. And I'm starting to hear people say like, oh, it feels like a throwback, fun summer action movie. And, I just want that movie to be fun. That's all. Like, it doesn't even have to be good. I just want it to be fun. I want it to be a fun ride. Because you can argue that this movie's not quote unquote good in like the specific filmmaker sense. I love it. I think it's wonderful. I think the beats work great. I think the pacing and it comes together beautifully. But
I mean, that is the question. I mean, I wonder, I mean, I have a great deal of affinity for it, as I mean all three of us do, and people from our era certainly do. But I wonder how much of an afterlife it's had, right? Notwithstanding the fact that they're digging up the IP and, doing that. But like, I don't get the sense that it's talked about very much. It's probably the same as the Towering Inferno is to us,
Yeah, true. By the way, did you see one of the digital effects artists' name was Dr. Love?
I did. Yeah, that stood out to me.
Anyway.
But by the way, speaking of the digital effects, I found this very funny that ILM did the effects, but they weren't able to handle it all. So it was farmed out to another group called Band from the Ranch.
Oh, what is that?
I guess it's a bunch of people who used to work at Skywalker Ranch, but
that's pretty great.
That's funny. I would love for when they were approached, the lead guy to be like, well.
Right.
Come crawling back.
But seriously, like, guys, I'm so happy. I was over the moon when you were like, we're doing Twister and we want you to come and be a part of it. So thank you so much for letting me live this movie again with my two best pals.
Oh dear. It wouldn't have been a party without you.
Absolutely. I'm so glad. I wouldn't have wanted to do this without you.
Yeah. And just, as we close this conversation, I mean, I'm looking at the new one and I'm like, I'm not even going to expect something like this because I feel like I'm just setting myself up to be disappointed.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like, because this is something Jan De Bont has talked about with regards to the new film, where he's like, he said something interesting. He's like, I think it's 15 years too late. And I thought that was interesting because what he was saying was like, we're at a point now where we don't do anything practically anymore.
Yeah.
And obviously, when Bill Paxton was alive, he talked about how he wanted to do a sequel. He wanted to direct a sequel.
Nice.
And that opportunity, unfortunately, never materialized. So this new one is unconnected except thematically. But that's the question. I mean, I've watched this with my kids multiple times. They enjoy it. So it's definitely a movie that holds up. It can be introduced to new generations. I just wish it had more of a consistent afterlife. But I mean, I guess that's just the nature of these things. I mean, how many movies have that period,
Yeah.
But hey, well, thank you everybody for listening to what we had to say, and let us know if you agree or disagree with our thoughts. You can email us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast, and message us there. As always, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review, leave a star rating. Every little bit helps. Sean, while you're here, is there anything you want to hype up? Can you tell the audience about anything you're working on right now?
Oh, I wish I could. It's a show. It's going to be a show for kids, and it has to do with characters that may or may not have superpowers. It's going to be on a Disney show. I got to stop there.
I was like, oh man, you're getting close to the edge.
But it's going to be awesome. And I think they're actually going to announce it next month. So I think it gets announced in August of this year. So I'll think. So yeah. So just stand by your Disney feed and listen for big announcements next month sometime. Other than that, I don't have a social media or a
Your book.
Twitter or an X or an Insta or any of that jazz. So
Your book, Sean.
Oh, thanks, Brian. Yeah, I did. I wrote a book called Baseball Dad. So if you want to, on Amazon, search Baseball Dad, Sean Coyle. Just, interesting, fun little conversational pieces of just sort of my life through playing baseball as a youngster into my teen years, and then coaching baseball, and just how a lot of life lessons and important memories and whatnot that I have all kind of center around the game of baseball and my takeaways from that, featuring original illustrations and comic strips too. So it's a fun little breezy read. So if you wouldn't mind searching that, and if you're interested, buy yourself a copy and find out where I live and come knock on my door and I'll autograph it for you.
No, I highly recommend it. I like baseball just fine, but I don't really follow it. I don't follow the players. I've never coached Little League, but these stories that Sean tells, they begin with baseball and they begin with his experiences coaching Little League, but then they are completely relatable in their themes and the funny things that happen. I was laughing like constantly as I was reading. Wonderfully written. It is so.
I feel like this is the thing that inspires like a primetime animated series.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I highly recommend it. I think anybody, baseball fan or not, will find something in there that they relate to and that will make them chuckle. And it's just so damn charming.
Thanks. Thanks very much, guys.
Highly recommended.
Yeah. Awesome.
Brian, what about you?
Well, what are we? July, August 14th, new episodes of Young Jedi Adventures drop. And some of these are ones that I'm very excited about and can't wait to see myself. So people can look out for that on Disney Junior and Disney Plus.
Great. And as for me, you can look for my reviews and commentary pieces at the San Francisco Chronicle, as well as the Wrap and IGN. I've got dropping. By the time you listen to this, you can read my review at the Wrap of Cobra Kai season 6. The first 5 episodes of season 6 was dropped. But in addition to all of that, you can go back and look at our backlog of commentaries. We now have more than 100 commentary tracks we've done on this show, which is just crazy to me. And of course, we have our next regular show coming up where we will be talking about Twisters. Plus, I think Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Right, Brian? I think.
Not together.
Not together. Okay, so we're doing Twister. Okay, that's right. But hey, that's all coming up. We'll get there. Relax, everybody. Just relax. Chill, baby. It's on the way. It's coming. It's coming. But with that, on behalf of my partner Brian Hall and special guest, returning guest host Sean Coyle, my name is Zaki Hassan. This has been our commentary track for Twister. We'll catch you next time. Thank you, folks.